Hello, we're dealing with money today. The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith, and you have to go back to the source. Um, Everybody's reading these weird little pamphlet books. I don't even want to call them pamphlets, because pamphlets are usually political. Get rich quick books. You know the Rich Dad Poor Dad and it's weird book, 48 Rules of Power and all these weird little books. A lot of black people are into these things as if that's going to help you get capital when you are the capital, your black body. But I wanted to understand money, what it is, particularly because my community thinks that money is everything. Cream, cashews, everything around me has been our fundamental guiding principle since the 90s. And that's why black people are in such bad shape. And if you don't think that we're in bad shape, I always say this: go sit in a public place and just watch us. We're going to be the most mentally unhealthy. You're going to see it in our physicality. We're going to be physically unhealthy. And you're going to see even children. I'm obese. I'm trying to lose weight now. I see black children who are my size. I'm not even talking about teenagers yet. And then you look at teenagers. So we need to get our minds right. And I want to deal with money. So we're going to do with chapter 4 is the origin and use of money. When the division of labor has been once thoroughly established, it is but a very small part of a man's wants which the produce of his own labor can supply. He supplies the far greater part of them by exchanging the surplus part of the produce of his own labor, which is over and above his own consumption, for such parts of the produce of other men's labor as he has occasion for. Every man thus lives by exchanging, or becomes in some measure a merchant, and society itself grows to be what is properly a commercial society. But when the division of labor first began to take place, the power of exchanging must frequently have been very much clogged and embarrassed in its operations. One man, we shall suppose, has more of a certain commodity than he himself has occasion for, while the other has less. Now, gets to the key of it. Money is something else, as you're going to see later on in this chapter. But commodity is what you want. You want resources. You want access to resources, which human beings used to always have before certain human beings came with weapons and put gates around. The former consequently would be glad to dispose of, and the latter to purchase a part of this superfluity. But if this latter should chance to have nothing that the former stands in need of, no exchange can be made between them. The butcher has more meat in his shop than he himself can consume, and the brewer and the baker would each of them be willing to purchase a part of it, but they have nothing to offer in exchange except the different productions of their respective trades, and the butcher is already provided with all the bread and beer which he has immediate occasion for. No exchange can, in this case, be made between them. He cannot be their merchant, nor they his customers, and they are all of them thus mutually less serviceable to one another. In order to avoid the inconveniency of such situations, every prudent man in every period of society after the first establishment of the division of labor must naturally have endeavored to manage his affairs in such a manner as to have at all times by him, besides the peculiar produce of his own industry, a certain quantity of some one commodity or other, such as he imagined few people would be likely to refuse in exchange for the produce of their industry. So if I was a butcher, I would have to go and I would have to trade for a certain amount of swords or maybe plows. I would have to have so many different things and go back and forth with all these different people to go to get bread. Or the people with the bread and the beer would also have to have maybe back in these days wagon wheels or horseshoes. They would have to go and trade for horseshoes to have and then go and trade for beer or for meat, right? So all money is a convenient way to exchange things. But the more important thing we need to worry about is why does the butcher have meat and the baker have bread and all of these other and flour and wheat to make bread, right? Because at some point in human history, we had access to all materials on the planet. Now, you might have had tribes that might have come in and tried to steal your wheat or steal your food or steal your whatever it is you caught. Maybe y'all caught something and somebody would try to steal it, but you had access to it. Now, you have no access to food. You have corporate agriculture that gates off plants and animals that you eat, that people consume. And now you have to come with some currency. And you have to do labor to get the currency. Right? You don't even have the resources. At least these people had, the baker had something, the butcher had something. Everybody had something to trade. Even if somebody directly didn't need what you had, everybody had something, had access to something. And of course, we're probably talking before modern development of history, but even back when you had tribes of people, bands of people, villages of people, they had access to the natural resources. We don't have access to any natural resource. So again, you can have a bunch of money and still be screwed. Like in Germany, when the money wasn't worth anything, when they say you were taking a wheelbarrow of money to go buy a loaf of bread. But why? When bread grows, wheat grows, right? So why do I need money to get wheat, to get bread? And those are the things you have to ask. Why? Why do I have to have money to get apples and oranges and all these things grow? And no matter if you believe in evolution or you believe in creation, food was growing before human beings were here. Now we grow different kinds of food. We mix trees together. We take plants and we can expand it. If there's one apple tree, we can make 10. Sure, no doubt about that. But it was growing. Stuff was there. So we need to come to this kickoff. Money is inconvenient. Money is okay. But it's not everything. Right? That's why we're having such a hard time when money's becoming digital, because we want to hold cash in our hand. We think there's a difference. There's no difference between somebody selling me $20 and somebody giving me a $20 bill. There's no difference. As a matter of fact, the $20 bill is a pain in the ass. I have to hold it, I have to carry it, I have to exchange it when I go to the store. When you just have digital, you have your card, you just tap. That's where we are. Although in some stores I wouldn't do it. There's some shady stores that I wouldn't use my card in. But those are that is what money is. And stop thinking money is the end all be all. Resources are the end all be all. Let's see. Where were we? Many different commodities, it is probable, were successively both thought of and employed for those purpose, or for this purpose. In the rude ages of society, cattle ate said to have been there's something on the book. All right. Cattle are said, to have been the common instrument of commerce And though they must have been a most convenient one, yet in the old times we find things were frequently valued according to the number of cattle which had been given in exchange for them. The armor of Diomede, says Homer, cost only 9 oxen, but that of Glaucus cost 100 oxen. Salt is said to be the common instrument of commerce and exchange in Abyssinia, a species of shells in some parts of the coast of India, dried cod in Newfoundland, tobacco in Virginia, sugar in some of our West India colonies, slavery. I love the way they do this and never mention the slaves that processed all the sugar and the stuff in the colonies. Hides or dressed leather in some other countries. And there is at this day a village in Scotland where it is not uncommon, I am told, for a workman to carry nails instead of money to the baker shop or the ale house. See? So that's the way it was. You had to trade the actual resource. And we've so far surpassed that, and sure, but money is not, and sure, you need money to pay things with, but if you have access to the resources themselves, then the money will represent that. And the problem we have is we don't have access to the resources. There's a smaller number of people who have all the resources, housing, this includes land, this includes food, water, and all this stuff. And when we go to try to drink it or use it, they even genetically engineer seed so you can only use them once. And they know if it's their seed, and they can sue you if you got the seed without paying them. So if their seed falls off a truck, and this was happening, Monsanto, I think is the company, their seeds were falling off the trucks and landing on people's farms. This is back when you still had some family farms left. And Monsanto would come through and sue them and say, hey man, that's our seed. We have a patent on that. You that's illegal. The people are like, what are you talking about? We didn't plant your seed. Where would we get your seed from? But it didn't matter because it was growing there. So, the control of resources is in smaller number of people's hands, and they're using brute force because, of course, with lawsuits comes law enforcement. So if you sue people in the farm and you take part of their farm, who do you think is going to serve the eviction or serve the whatever needs to be served to get you off Monsanto's land? Because now they want the land. It's going to be a sheriff. Who serves evictions? Sheriff, police departments. And that's why you have to pay rent for these things. Right? Now, the problem is you can get your guns and go up against their guns, but they're so far ahead of you. I mean, the weaponry is so sophisticated that you might as well just put the gun. No, I'm not going to say that, but you would definitely get slaughtered. You would get ripped down. And you might not even make it. They have stuff that can kill you in your house, in your sleep. And that's no conspiracy. Go to CNET. Go to CNET.com. And if you look at miniature drones, and they have drones that look like insects with stingers on the back, so needles, and they can inject you with something to put you to sleep. And supposedly they built this for the military so that when the military did urban warfare, they could send the little drones in and like put terrorists to sleep and then move in on their camps while they're sleeping. So I saw that on CNET. CNET's mainstream. And I thought, whoa, man, damn, this is what they're letting the mainstream people know, tell us. So again, we're trying to demystify what money is. We're trying to, like I do with all my stuff, give you the reality of what these things are. And at this point, I'm just providing it so that when I'm gone, maybe somebody could look at the work and say, okay, he was on to something. His school actually taught, right? And we'll see what happens. Until next time, take care and be safe.